600.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. North Korea just issuing its newest threat, responding to President Trump, promising action by mid-August, threatening to target Guam. Quote, seriously considering taking action. There are American military bases and more than 160,000 Americans who live there after the president threatened to unleash fire and fury. Also tonight, the raid by the FBI before the sun came up at the home of Paul Manafort, the former chair of the Trump campaign, waking him up to conduct the raid. The soldiers ambushed a suspect driving into them to chase today near Paris, and the highway shootout that followed. Our correspondent on the ground with what's now become a terror investigation. The first hurricane of the season back here gaining strength at this hour, and the alarming new headline tonight from NOAA about what's now ahead. And the explosion tonight, the home leveled, flames shooting into the air.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. And we do begin with breaking news. That headline, North Korea just a short time ago issuing its newest threat. The AP now reporting that the North Korean regime is calling President Trump's words a load of nonsense, saying they will complete their plan to, quote, attack waters near Guam by mid-August. It comes after President Trump warned North Korea against making any more threats, or the U.S. would unleash fire and fury unlike anything the world has ever seen. ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega leading us off.
Tonight, a new threat from North Korea coming in, saying they will be ready to attack the U.S. territory of Guam by mid-August. This comes as President Trump's warning shot fired directly at Pyongyang tonight is sending shockwaves around the world. But ABC News has learned that threat caught some in the president's own inner circle by surprise. The president in that statement using language not vetted or pre-approved by his national security team.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
Sources close to the president say behind closed doors with top aides, including new Chief of Staff General John Kelly, President Trump had discussed taking a tougher tone on Pyongyang. But even members of his own national security team had no idea the president would go so far.
He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
Within a few hours, North Korea responding with its own warning, saying it is seriously considering a plan to target Guam with missiles. The U.S. territory, home to crucial military bases and 160,000 Americans, is just 2,000 miles away. Then today, Rex Tillerson sending a message of his own, landing in Guam, offering very different words.
I think Americans should sleep well at night.
The Secretary of State striking a much softer tone.
What the president was doing is sending a strong message to North Korea in language that Kim Jong-un would understand, because he doesn't seem to understand diplomatic language.
Then the president himself weighed in, tweeting, "Our nuclear arsenal is now far stronger and more powerful than ever before. Hopefully we will never have to use this power." But his initial words have sparked international reaction. From New Zealand,
I think the comments are not helpful in an environment that's very tense.
To Germany's Foreign Office, saying saber rattling won't help. Even some in the president's own party calling his words dangerous.
All it's going to do is bring us closer to some kind of serious confrontation. I think this is very, very, very serious. The great leaders that I've seen, they don't threaten unless they are ready to act.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that President Trump is ready to act.
And Cecilia Vega is with us live tonight from Bedminster, New Jersey, where the president is vacationing at his golf course. And Cecilia, you have more on that statement from the North Koreans at this hour, and any response from the White House tonight?
David, no response from the White House because this statement literally just came in. I want to read a little bit to you. It is from a top Army commander given to us by state media, given out by state media. They say that they outright say that this is a crucial warning to the United States, calling that fire and fury comment by President Trump a load of nonsense. They say that this has infuriated the Army. They list the exact rockets that they plan to use to fire at Guam, David, and they say this plan will be complete by mid-August, David.
Cecilia Vega, who will be covering this into the night. Cecilia, thank you. ABC's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz with us live in Washington tonight with more on this breaking development, this new threat from North Korea. And Martha, you've been talking to your sources at the Pentagon. A lot of Americans watching this unfold want to know, how likely is it we're going to see some sort of military conflict here?
Well, first of all, David, President Trump's statement was a surprise to many. It is important to say war is the last thing anyone at the Pentagon wants to see happen. But Pacific Command has been doing updated war planning, and they're certainly focusing on defensive measures as well. But if those tough sanctions imposed on North Korea do not work, if Kim Jong-un continues to make progress on a nuclear-tipped missile, a senior official told me that in 6 to 12 months, the administration will have to decide whether some sort of preemptive strike or some other measure should be undertaken to stop Kim. David?
All right, Martha Raddatz following the breaking developments as well. Martha, thank you. The other major headline developing at this hour involves the Russia investigation tonight and the raid before dawn at the home of one-time Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort. A dozen armed FBI agents reportedly waking him up, knocking on his bedroom door to execute the search warrant. ABC's Mary Bruce at the FBI tonight.
Before the sun came up, a dozen armed FBI agents were knocking at Paul Manafort's bedroom door, waking up Trump's former campaign chairman with a warrant to search his Virginia home. All without warning the morning of July 26th, the agents seizing documents and other materials, part of the ongoing special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling in the election, including possible collusion with the Trump campaign. Manafort ran Trump's campaign for months, overseeing the Republican convention.
Paul Manafort has done an amazing job.
But there were mounting questions about his Russian connections and lobbying in Ukraine.
Are there any ties between Mr. Trump, you or your campaign, and Putin and his regime?
No, there are not. It's absurd, and there's no basis to it.
Shortly afterwards, he was fired from the campaign, later registering as a foreign agent. And we now know Manafort was in the room for that Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian lawyer who promised dirt on Hillary Clinton. Tonight, Manafort's team confirms that recent FBI raid. A spokesman saying Mr. Manafort has consistently cooperated with law enforcement and other serious inquiries, and did so on this occasion as well.
This raid indicates that the FBI did not believe that Manafort was fully cooperating with the investigation.
The Russia investigation led by special counsel Robert Mueller is pressing forward with a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C. And on Capitol Hill, documents are pouring into the Senate Judiciary Committee. Manafort turning over 400 pages and Donald Trump Jr. handing in 250 pages of records. It all comes as tonight Trump's lawyers are pushing back against a report that the president is sending private messages to Mueller. One of Trump's lawyers tells USA Today the president appreciates what Bob Mueller is doing. He asked me to share that with him, and that's what I've done. But sources with knowledge of those conversations tell ABC it was nothing more than routine chatter between legal teams, and that Trump and Mueller have not been in direct contact.
So let's bring in Mary Bruce live at the FBI tonight. And Mary, we are also learning about something else that will be closely scrutinized into these evening hours, the special counsel Robert Mueller's financial disclosures.
David, for the first time, Mueller has released a full accounting of his client history as a private attorney. Now, so far, no red flags, but the president's legal team has accused Mueller of having conflicts of interest. And tonight, you can be sure they are poring over these new documents. David.
Mary Bruce, live at the FBI. Thank you, Mary. We turn overseas now into the developing headline there, the new terror investigation underway at this hour after an attack in a Paris suburb. A driver laying in wait, mowing down a group of soldiers, sparking a chase that ended in a hail of bullets on a highway several miles to the north. The incident being investigated as a terror attack tonight, and ABC's James Longman reports from Paris.
Tonight, a suspect shot by police and in the hospital after allegedly mowing down 6 soldiers. At around 8 a.m., a group of officers were about to start their patrol
when, according to authorities, a black BMW slowly approached and then sped directly into the group, seriously injuring 3.
His target, the soldiers patrolling Paris. Fleeing the scene, the attacker led police on a 5-hour manhunt, ending in a shootout on this busy highway north of Paris. That BMW shattered with bullet holes. They started to fire. There were bangs everywhere, this one witness said. I saw the person fall to the ground. Then I took cover. The suspect, believed to be a 36-year-old Algerian with a history of petty crime.
Earlier today, heavily armed, masked police searched a building thought linked to him.
This year alone, there have been 6 attempts on French police and military forces, including this machete-wielding attacker at the Louvre and this gunman opening fire on the Champs-Élysées.
And James Longman with us live tonight from Paris. And James, authorities are treating this attack as a possible act of terror.
That's right, David. Counter-terrorism prosecutors have opened an investigation into any possible terror links. France's Interior Minister calling today's attack a deliberate act. David?
James Longman live in Paris for us tonight. James, thank you. Back here at home now, and to a suspected cop killer in Missouri, now in custody tonight. Ian McCarthy was arrested walking down a highway some 20 miles from the spot where Officer Gary Michael was gunned down Sunday night. This surveillance video showing Officer Michael driving after a vehicle without its lights on. When he pulled the vehicle over, the driver then opened fire. Tonight, McCarthy is charged with first-degree murder. We turn next here to the home explosion in a Milwaukee neighborhood. The home shattered, then burned, already a ruin by the time firefighters arrived. ABC's Alex Perez from the scene tonight.
Words can't describe this fire.
The mysterious middle-of-the-night explosion rocking this Milwaukee neighborhood. Flames shooting 75 feet high.
Everybody coming in at 24th place. The fire's on 24th Street.
Oh my God.
It was about 3:50 a.m. when Kiwana Wyatt heard the loud boom that jolted her out of bed. Still shaking, she took out her phone, recording the inferno.
Lord Jesus. I was just concerned about our house catching on fire. I was even nervous that the back of our house was going to catch on fire.
The home, which was under renovation, completely leveled.
We did see the basement block had been bulged out, which would be indicative of something happening internally, forcing those blocks out.
Tonight, arson investigators are sifting through debris, hunting for answers.
And David, you can see what's left of this home. Investigators still here on the scene. No official cause just yet, but luckily, no one was home at the time. David?
Just a stunning scene there, Alex. Thank you. We turn next here tonight. The first hurricane of the season gaining strength at this hour. Hurricane Franklin with 75-mile-an-hour winds growing in the Gulf of Mexico tonight, already being felt near Cancun, on track to slam ashore later this evening. Also tonight, NOAA forecasters revising their outlook, predicting what could be a, quote, extremely active season with 14 to 19 named storms, including 5 to 9 hurricanes, up to 5 of them major. Never what we want to hear, but let's bring in Rob Marciano tonight. First, the track of Franklin. Where is this hurricane tonight?
Well, it's got warm water underneath it, and that's why we've seen so many storms so far this season, which is very active, as you mentioned. In the southern Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche there, 75-mile-an-hour winds. We expect it to strengthen maybe a little bit more, but a Category 1 storm at landfall, then slamming into those mountains of Mexico, really flooding rain and deadly mudslides is the big concern there. We're also concerned about 2 disturbances closer to home, one just off the coast of Florida and another one rolling towards the Bahamas. That one has a better chance of developing here, potentially threatening the U.S. coastline here towards the middle of next week. A very active season, as you mentioned. Could be the most active in 7 years, David.
You'll be tracking it for us, Rob. Thank you. Next tonight, to new fallout this evening after the Senate's failure to repeal and replace Obamacare. You'll remember Senator John McCain giving it a thumbs down in that late-night vote, scuttling the plan. Well, today, fellow Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin stunning a radio interviewer with his answer when asked about McCain's vote.
He has a brain tumor right now. That vote occurred at 1:30 in the morning. Some of that might have factored in.
Really?
A spokesman for Senator McCain responding, "It is bizarre and deeply unfortunate that Senator Johnson would question the judgment of a colleague and friend." Senator McCain has been very open and clear about the reasons for his vote. And late today, Senator Johnson did apologize for those comments. We turn next here tonight to that controversy sparked by a former Google engineer who wrote a 10-page memo criticizing the company's diversity program, saying women lag behind in the tech world because of their biology. Tonight, he's out of a job, but he's standing by his words as we hear from him for the first time. Here's ABC's chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis.
Tonight, the fired software engineer who sparked a firestorm after challenging Google's diversity program, speaking out.
I'm not saying that any of the female engineers at Google are in any way worse than the average male engineer.
In an interview on YouTube, James Damore standing by his internal memo in which he argues that women, on average, have more neuroticism and higher anxiety, lower stress tolerance than men, and that the abilities of men and women differ in part due to biological